What's up, y'all? It's Claudia. I'm back. Sorry it's been a hot second. March has been a lot for everyone. But with, everything that's been going on, plus my girlfriend and I moved across the country to be back home in Louisiana. So things are a little crazy with the moving, and now we're living at our parents' house, and so hence the sitting in bed, because there isn't really much else until we fix up. There's a front room we're fixing up besides the point. But for now we're gonna be cozy. But yeah, this is my April TBR. I'm really hoping that April is a lot more chill than March has been. Even though I did read a decent amount in March, I read more in March than I have in February. I will be uploading a March wrap-up sometime next week, because today is still the 30th, so technically March isn't done. I still could finish a couple books, but yeah, so April's gonna be a lot. I'm going back to work. I've been off partially because of the coronavirus, partially just because of moving, but I start back up tomorrow, so that'll be a lot. I'm not working the most amount of hours, but like still, it's gonna be a lot of interaction. But no, so what's going on in April? April is the magical readathon, created by Book Roast. Why can't is her name Gia? Yes, Gia of Book Roast. That is going on. I am participating in that. And then I've also, because I'm a sucker for punishment, came up with a new TBR game, which I had wanted to put out as my March TBR, but then March immediately got insane, so by the time I got around to filming a TBR video, I was like, no, I'm not dealing with that. Plus I was out of town for the end of February. Like, it was just not gonna happen. But I decided to come up with a new TBR game. I've had this idea in my notes on my phone for literally a couple months now, but it is based around tarot cards. I do have tarot cards. I don't practice them as a religion thing. I do use them as a self-reflection tool. I don't see anything mystical about them for my personal use. I get that other people do, but I figured, it's a cute thing to do. My deck is the Wild Unknown tarot deck, so there's a couple things in it that are a little bit different than the traditional like Rider-Waite tarot deck. Like the suits are just slightly different names, but I have come up with a whole system for that. So I'm going to try, basically I'm going to pull 5 cards every month, and then that will be, I have prompts on my notes to what each like suit and each number and then each of the major arcana correspond to. So yeah, but yes, I'm gonna try to do these, and plus the magical readathon. I will say I am very limited as to the books that I have access to, because obviously all the libraries are shut down, so I am limited to what I physically have with me here, things my girlfriend's parents physically have here, which I've taken pictures of some of the books that I'd be interested in reading, and then what I know my parents have at their house, which they have a lot, so thankfully yeah. Thankfully we have those. Let me go through what the tarot cards mean. So for each of the suits, we have Wands is fantasy, Cups is contemporary, Swords is horror/thriller, Pentacles is sci-fi, and then within each of the suits we have the numbers. Aces are short books, 2 is a graphic novel, 3 adult, 4 young adult, 5 a non-American author because I want to expand, 6 is a reread, 7 is a book that came out last century because I do want to read some older books and I have a lot of classics around, 8 is a book that I then have to do a full review of, 9 a new release, which will be very hard this month, so I'm going to interpret new release loosely for this time being. 10 is a long book, and then for the I can't think of what they're called, but the people part of the suits, these are named after family members. So instead of queen, it's mother, instead of king, it's father, etc. So mother is a female author, father is a male author, daughter is an author that is a person of color, and then son is a gay author or queer author in general. And to go through the major arcana, these are not in any particular order. I know there is a specific order they come in. I think I just copied the list of them off Wikipedia or something. But the Fool is I'm going to read the lowest rated book on my TBR. The Magician is a middle grade. The High Priestess is magical realism, so hopefully I can hack away at my Haruki Murakami collection. I have so many of his books that I have not read. The Empress is highest rated fiction book. The Emperor is highest rated nonfiction. The Hierophant is a short book. Lovers is a romance. The Chariot is a long book. Justice is a book that I already own. The Hermit is a classic. Wheel of Fortune is a self-help book. I thought that'd be fun. Strength is a previously unread book, so a book that I put on my TBR in months past, but did not get to. The Hanged Man is read the first book in a series. Death is read a book by a dead author. Temperance is any nonfiction book. The Devil is read a book featuring an evil or supernatural creature. The Tower is any fairy tale retelling. The Star is an anthology, be it a poetry anthology, short stories, essays. The Moon is read a play. The Sun is historical fiction. Judgment is any graphic novel. And The World is a book set in another country. So that is all of my full options for what each of the cards mean. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle them up and go ahead and draw 5 of them. I acknowledge that I'm very bad at shuffling, but this is just my method. Awesome. So the first card that I have pulled is the Hermit, a classic, which is very convenient. I have a thought for that already. The Hermit is a classic. I am going to be reading Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. This will also work for the magical readathon prompt of herbology. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not explain that. I have chosen the career path of wand maker. So I need ancient rune. The classes I need are ancient runes, which is a book with a heart on the cover or in the title. Arithmancy, a book not in my favorite genre. Care of Magical Creatures has a book that has a beak on the cover. Charms is a book with a white cover. And Herbology starts a book that the title starts with an M. There we go. So I am going to be reading Mrs. Dalloway for the Hermit card. It starts with an M, so it will also fulfill the herbology prompt. The second card I pulled is the Tower. So it's going to be a fairy tale retelling. I don't know that I have anything off the top of my head, but we're going to look at it. So for the Tower, I do not have it physically with me, but I am going to include mythology, sort of. So I am going to be reading The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. It is technically not a fairy tale retelling, but it is a Greek mythology retelling. Y'all know what Percy Jackson is. But he wrote it for his kids. So to me, it's sort of like a fairy tale because it was intended to be told by a parent to their kids. I'm counting it. The next one that I have is Judgment. Judgment, I am going to read Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. It is a graphic novel. It is also a musical. It is phenomenal. I read it in high school, but I do want to reread it. And this is going to fulfill the prompt for arithmancy, which is not your favorite genre. My favorite genre, at least my most read and highly rated genre, is fantasy. And Fun Home is a memoir graphic novel. So it will count for that. Okay, this next one may be a bit of a challenge because I don't know if I have anything, but I'm going to try, which is Son of Swords. So it is going to be a horror or thriller by a gay author. So for Son of Swords, I'm going to be reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It was weirdly hard to find a book by a queer author that was horror. Google is not very helpful. But yeah, I'm gonna read that. And then finally there's The Fool, so the lowest rated book, in this case lowest rated that I have access to on my TBR. The Fool, which is the lowest rated on my TBR, or at least the lowest I can get to, is gonna be The Need by Helen Phillips. It's all of the tarot card ones. I do still have a few different magical readathon prompts that were not covered by the tarot cards. So for Ancient Runes, I have to read something with heart in the title or on the cover, so I'm going to be reading Every Heart a Doorway. For Care of Magical Creatures, which is an animal with a beak on the cover, I'm going to be reading The Raven Boys. I have not read it yet. It would not be my priority to read, but since it fits the prompt and I have access to it through my library, I'm gonna do it. And then for charms, a book with a white cover, I'm going to be reading The White Album by Joan Didion. It is a book of essays that I've been meaning to read. It was also in my March TBR for a different readathon, but we're gonna ignore that. But yeah, that's it. Sorry, this is really weird. I may have to film some other things later to pop in and correct myself or clear some things up, because it's been a time. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.